guys, welcome back to my channel, The Scream Season. I know it's been a little while, but I absolutely had to do a review on the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, as I've been waiting for this movie for pretty much as soon as they announced it. Very excitedly and nervously waiting on this recall film. I want to let you know that there will be spoilers in this review, so if you haven't seen it, pause, go and watch it, and then come back and jump in the comments, and I want to hear your thoughts on the movie. But to get started, I want to say that I went into this movie with a real open mind, or at least I think I did. I saw the trailers. I really tried to stay away from too much online, too many TV spots and clips. I saw the main two trailers that they released, was pretty psyched about it, and then just kind of waited. It was really hard to stay off all my social media because I follow so many horror accounts. The first day or two when the film had been released, I really had to stay off social media so nothing would be spoiled for me. But like I said, I'm going to spoil things in this video for people. But it's been out for a few days, so hopefully you've seen it by now. My general thoughts are basically, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it as well. Obviously, I'll go into more depth about this one, but a lot of people have also been saying that it's a lot better after a second view. I've only seen it once in cinemas, so this is just my initial thoughts from my first viewing of it. Obviously, there are some films that they grow on you the more you watch them. The film started, we had the opening shot, which I loved, and I remember the director, Jennifer, saying that they had wrapped the film pretty much completely, and then she just had this niggling thought that she had to go to, I think it was South Carolina, to get the similar shot, and it was way over budget and they had to get the shot. So I was hyped for it, and then seeing the shot in the film, it was cool, but it also just had a very different feel. The minute that opening shot, and even the writing of the film, it's definitely, okay, 2025 vibes. Obviously everything can't be the same, so I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. There's a bit of a throwback on the opening scene, but it's obviously during the day, not the same lighting at all. Definitely a fresh take. The things I liked, there were a few really good Easter eggs, especially, the OG cast, Ray and Julie coming back. There's a particular line that Ray says that I find really funny, and I even had to when I chuckled, I turned to my boyfriend and I said, oh, it's a reference to the sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, which he has seen, but he just forgot, where the kids are like, well, let's just go on a boat. We can be in the Bahamas in a few hours and we'll just run away. And Ray just goes, for reasons I won't get into, I'm just going to tell you that's a really bad idea. And that line made me chuckle. I thought that was funny because only certain people would get it. People who've seen the sequel, it's pretty funny. Obviously, I loved Ray and Julie coming back, and big spoiler if you haven't seen it, Sarah Michelle Gellar does come back in a dream sequence for this. I was actually really shocked, pretty much because when she was in Australia filming, or when he was in Australia filming and she took a set photo, there was all this buzz about her being in the film, and she publicly came out being like, no, I'm not in the film. My husband is, and I'm with him in Australia with our family while he is filming. I'm just being a supportive wife, which was very reasonable because she said, I definitely died in the first one. So I was like, oh, they did bring her back. And thank God they brought her back in a dream sequence and not this ridiculous kind of she didn't actually die kind of thing. Her scene was great. Well, it was good to see her on film, but it was a little... My initial was like, oh, that's great. We've got most of them coming back. It wasn't necessary. It was definitely an Easter egg for the fans. There's been a few people online that I've seen being like, they didn't get her look right. She doesn't look anything like that when she died. But I like the fact they didn't make her look, in the teal dress with the short hair, because the character of Danica, she shows up in her nightmare, and she doesn't even, she saw her very briefly earlier in the cemetery. So she doesn't know about Helen. This is Danica's image of what Helen would be like in her nightmare. So it kind of worked, but yeah, a lot of people were like, it just doesn't feel like Helen. She seems really mean. I don't really think that she was mean. I think she was more just kind of like a bit pissed off about being dead. So I love that. And yeah, the opening shots I thought were cool. I did really love the graveyard scene. Just the cinematography, I thought it looked really cool, creepy, but also beautiful at the same time. And then it goes into the sequence of Danica getting chased by the fishermen, and then they end up inside, and there's a float of the croaker queen. Say it right. I thought that was a nice little throwback. I actually wanted to see more to do with, like, the 4th of July, Southport, the whole pageant. But I also understand they age these characters to be, like, early to mid-20s, kind of just finished college. And I actually liked that they aged them up a little bit. I thought that was a nice change. The realization that a year later, Danica is still engaged, but she's engaged to a completely different guy. That was like, oh, okay. So something's happened there. I liked the new cast. I didn't love them. I didn't hate them. There were some funny moments. I wish the pastor, Austin Nichols from One Tree Hill, I love him. I wish he had a little bit more screen time and his character overall had a little bit more to do. Looking back, it was pretty obvious he was just thrown in as like a red herring. But I think they could have done more with his character or given him a bit of a backstory. I think overall, I enjoyed the film, but my biggest thing really is the backstory with Ray and Julie. We just did not get it. We pretty much find out that they hate each other, they were married, it didn't work out. And I understand for the reveal, which again, big spoiler, Ray is the one behind, the mastermind behind all of this. I understand they didn't want to give too much away, but it just kind of felt like a bit of a rip-off to bring these characters back and not have them kind of have like a sweet moment together. And I think that probably would have worked better to have a little sweet moment between the two of them and still have Ray be the killer in the end, because then it just stings more so for the fans. You're like, oh, but Ray, and it was an all an act this whole time, or in the last couple of years. So instantly when we are introduced to Southport, I kind of was like, the vibes are off. The Southport vibes aren't vibing. It feels like a completely different town, which I really didn't like until they explained why it felt like that, and there is a reason. Basically, the town has tried to completely distance themselves from the massacre that happened in 97, and they want to be seen as this really fancy, upscale town, which, knowing that, they nailed that vibe, but I just didn't feel that it was a part of the I Know What You Did Last Summer universe, because it's Haddonfield in Halloween, it's Woodsboro in Scream. Southport was a really big identity in the first I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I was really looking forward to catch that vibe again, even though I knew they were shooting it in Australia, in Sydney, so I was wondering how well they would capture that. And I'm glad they addressed it in the film, because up until that point, I was like, it just feels like a completely different town. I'm not getting the small town coastal vibe. But they did on purpose. So then once they did on purpose and they just didn't fail in that area completely, it kind of was better. But I just couldn't really relate with any of these new characters, because they were pretty much just all rich and they were driving really expensive cars, and the houses they had were so insane with massive garages that go underneath. I didn't really see any character that I identified with. I know they probably wanted us to identify with Stevie, but we didn't really learn too much about her. Even her backstory, they didn't give you a lot of. Obviously, it's, for the reveal, they didn't. But even in the reveal, I feel like it didn't last super long. It didn't go into a lot of detail. The incident when the car goes off the cliff, I felt that it happened kind of really fast, and then I didn't feel that moment between the characters where they're all kind of having this moral dilemma of what to do, and it be really divided with the characters about we should go to the police, or it just happened really quickly, and then they're back at Danica's house, and then we're just going to keep our mouth shut. It's a year later. And I really wanted to feel that moment, because as an audience, if you don't feel anything for those characters in that moment, the rest of the film, you're just going through the motions. Whereas Again, you can't have it be exactly the same as the original film. I completely get that. But in the original film, I think the most, like, the hardest point for these characters is that they actually dispose of his body. And then, they've got to figure out who's going to push him over into the water. Even a scene as simple as that is really like, oh, they physically, like, dumped this guy's body, and the heaviness of that situation. This situation was kind of like, well, his car went off the cliff. Do we just call the police and leave? Do we go to the police? Like, what do we do? It just seemed a little bit fast for being, like, the most important part of the entire film. Also, the ending reveal, so horror movies always have you suspend belief. I think we can all agree. I mean, I love Jill Roberts as one of the killers in Scream 4, but Emma Roberts is a stick. She is tiny. And so your brain is like, no way she did all this. But at least with Ghostface, he's a bit of a klutz. And so there is that, you can kind of gaslight your brain into thinking, oh, well, maybe she did a few kills. Like, maybe it was that one where the killer fumbled a few times or fell over or whatever. And then you have Charlie as her accomplice, so you go, well, maybe Charlie did all, like, the really brutal ones on the bigger, actors. With this one, the fisherman is just brutal. Like, he just brutalizes people. He, is this insane powerhouse. And then you have Stevie as the reveal. Also, tall, skinny, lean chick. And I was like, oh, I just don't believe it. Like, I don't believe that, she fucked up Teddy and so then at least when Ray is also the accomplice and the whole mastermind behind it, you go, well, okay, I guess he was the one doing all the killings. Yeah, he's a big, tough guy. I get that. I'm kind of split with the reveal. I know it was a big thing in the Scream community where it was this theory where people would go, oh, imagine with the new film if the killer ended up being, like, one of the OG characters, like Gail or Dewey or Sydney, but especially Dewey, from all the PTSD that they've experienced in the past. Maybe they finally went insane and then, they're behind it. And so I figured this out probably 45 minutes in. I turned to my boyfriend and I said, I actually think it might be Ray. And there's one scene in the very beginning with Tyler that kind of gives it away if you're really kind of thinking about it. And so I was like, oh, maybe it's Ray. And so it's kind of funny to me because I feel like the director has probably been on message boards on other horror films and been like, oh, yeah, like this is a thing that people think about and it totally makes sense. But I just didn't want Ray to be the bad guy. Like, he was a great character. But I at the same time, I do like that she took the chance and didn't play it safe. So I'm kind of torn between it. I think things will get better for me the more I watch it. But yeah, I think the end reveal kind of was, again, a little lackluster, a little fast. And the ending where Julie realizes and comes in, I just wanted a little bit more. My other thing that the first film, and the second film have done so well is an epic chase scene. Like a really good, I'm on the edge of my seat, I don't think this character's going to make it, but God, I hope they do chase scene. And I don't think we got that in this film. Danica had a bit of a chase scene. And looking back, there isn't one like Helen's chase scene that's kind of drawn out that little bit too long, but to the point where you're like, I'm about to lose it. Like, and then she gets so close to the parade and so close to being free. And that's what this franchise is great for. And that in the second one, Brandy's, Carla, her chase scene where she falls through and then, yeah, and the fisherman's right there and he's coming for her. Like, this is what this franchise has given us in the past. And I really wanted there to be another epic chase scene where you think, maybe, and then either they do or they don't. But I feel like we didn't get that, and I was a bit disappointed in that. And this is me being a little bit nitpicky, but I am a huge fan of music in horror films, whether it be the soundtrack or the score that goes on the back. I think it can make or break a horror film. Any film really, but horror especially. So I was disappointed that they didn't have any of the original theme music in the background on some of these moments. just because I think that's always a nice Easter egg for the original fans, where it's not too obvious, it's not too in your face. If you haven't seen the other films, you wouldn't think twice about it. But for me, I get really excited, and I think, you know, Scream 5, when you see Dewey and they're playing Dewey's theme, actual chills when I saw it in the theaters. I mean, every time I watch it, I still get chills. And unfortunately, you know, when I saw Ray and Julie, and even Helen, like in these, on their first moment on screen, I didn't really feel anything. I wasn't like hyped. I wasn't like, oh my God, yes, they're back. But I think a lot of that had to do with like, there wasn't their like theme music in the background. I think the original film also personally has a great soundtrack. I've had the CD for as long as I can remember. I think it had a very eclectic bunch of songs on there. Personally, I just didn't feel the songs in this one really hit. Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. There wasn't one moment where I thought, oh, this scene is great, and this song just makes it, like, just elevates it even more. And it would have been nice for them to throw in one of the original songs in some way or another, just to like amp up the nostalgia feeling, I think. But I also get that they're trying to make a film for a new generation, and they want to have like new up and coming artists. They probably want to showcase new people. I totally get that. I just feel like the original movie had quite an alternative soundtrack, which I think really worked. And this soundtrack was kind of just like the new poppy songs that I've heard on the radio or on TikTok. In a way, they weren't really showcasing anything new. Like, I'd heard a lot of these songs already. But again, that's like a very nitpicky thing that I'm a sucker for music and themes in movies. I think it just transport you. It just brings a whole nother feeling to it, for me anyway. I also really liked that it was filmed, I think like 85% of it was actually filmed here in Australia, where I am. It was filmed in Sydney. And I remember hearing that thinking, that's a bit random. Cool, but really random. Obviously now knowing that they were going for a whole different vibe for the town of Southport, it totally makes sense to film somewhere completely different. But I thought that was a fun thing to have one of my favorite movie franchises like filmed in my country, which was really fun. I'm in a different state, but whatever. And I think they did a really good job at like concealing Australia. There are some films that you look at and instantly you're like, they filmed that in Australia. I know. There's something very obvious that gives it away. And in this one, I don't think anything really stuck out to me like a sore thumb where I was like, ooh, they should have fixed that. That's definitely not in the US. I think they did a good job at doing that. Overall, I had a fun time. I'm not rushing back to see it in the cinemas. Like I said, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. Could they have done it better? Yes. But, they definitely didn't butcher it. I would love to know what you guys think on this. If you've seen the original film and the original sequel, and then your thoughts on this one, what you thought about the new cast of characters, and how you felt about Ray and Julie returning, and the little cameo by Sarah Michelle Gellar. I want to know all your thoughts. And if you think they'll make a sequel to this one, because obviously in the end credits, if you stayed, you saw that Carla's character comes back into the fold, and it kind of sets it up like there might be a sequel. Who knows if they'll do it? Do you want a sequel of this one? What are your thoughts? Would you like to see Carla come back? I loved her character in the second one, but who knows if the writing will do it justice. Yeah, anyway, leave your comments below, and I want to hear what you thought of this new film, and if you've seen the original, if and why you love them, and anything else. And also, thank you for watching my video. Bye.